Right. It's been a while. Doing a mic check, as always. Starting out with a quick mic check. All right, we sound good on my end. All right, everybody. I want to welcome you to the show this evening. It's going to be a little bit different for culture. It's been a while since I've been here, and that is because I've gone through one hell of an adventure over the past month. Shortly after my last show, I received some sad news that a dear friend of mine has moved on to the great castle in the sky. And at the same time, your boy Culture was in the midst of being smitten by a beautiful woman. So there was this flurry of emotions that were going on all at the same time. Now, while your boy will never let a woman knock him off his game and his square, this woman is holding a very special part, a place in my heart. And she helped me through a very difficult time, which we're going to talk a little bit about tonight. We're also going to talk a little bit about how we take care of ourselves and the perspective that society has of men. We're going to get into it a little bit this evening. It's going to be a long show. Hopefully not too long, because your boy does have to work in the morning. But for this evening, I want to dedicate this show to my dearly departed friend, Justin. I think it's timely that I kind of tie that in with the show. There is there's a lot of lessons to be learned by myself and others in this short time that we have here on Earth. And I think I have a little bit that I can offer. So, as always, it's edutainment over here at Culture Invasion. And I do thank you for being here with me this evening. Again, it's going to be a little bit different. No cam up. You may be asking, with me not being on camera, why the polo bear? Well, if you're not familiar with the Ralph Lauren polo bear, the polo bear is synonymous with the brand, other than the dude on the horse. Polo bear popped out about 91 or so, early 90s. And my homeboy Justin was all about that life. So again, salute to the fallen. Salute to my boy Justin. You are loved and remembered. And your memory will live on. All right. With the scab off the wound, I want to talk about our journeys, our lives a little bit too. It all ties together, of course. Everyone's life's different. Everyone's journey is different. We are not a monolith. We are not a monolith within our communities. We are not a monolith as men. When I first started this podcast, back on episode 1, I explained the following lines in my introduction. The world around us is not an absolute reality. Your reality is subjective to what you choose to explore. Your reality is subjective to what you choose to explore. What you limit yourself to and what you experience is your own responsibility. Choose wisely. So reflecting on that, I think that's a good basis for what we're going to talk about tonight. The choices we make, the experience, how we view ourselves, how we view the world around us when we are unsure of our paths. There's a lot wrapped up in this tonight, y'all, but I do thank you for joining me. Again, it's going to be a little bit different format, so let's go on and get started with this. Intro, as always, have a nice intro for you, about 10 minutes. So I may pop up and interject along the way. Let's get it started.
I'm OG, y'all new to the game.
I just wanted to take a quick moment and just let a little quick story be known. I was taking a moment and I was like just deleting old stuff on my phone. A lot of old numbers and text messages. Honestly, my phone is like, the memory is just going crazy. So I just wanted to take a moment and like, I was deleting numbers and then I'm trying to see what messages, who are these people, who are those people? Am I going to save these numbers? Am I going to delete these numbers? And I get to a number and I'm reading it and I'm talking to somebody about visiting them soon. Lo and behold, the person is George. So much love to Bosco and George, his family. But it kind of triggered a thought of everybody be kind of just lost over the years. I know it might sound corny. I know it might sound cheesy, but I can't help it. I've grown close to y'all doing YouTube. I've honestly grown close to y'all, and I feel like there's a family situation going on, a brotherhood, a sisterhood. There's some people that I would miss if I didn't have y'all in my life, or if I was to lose y'all, or if something was to happen. And things have happened to some people. Just much love, and I just want these people to know, these souls to know that you're still in our minds, you're still in our thoughts, you're still in our hearts. And I hate to say names because I don't want any name to be left out or forgotten. I don't want anybody to feel like their loved one or lost ones is any less than the ones I name. But Cecily 79, Sharita, sister, I miss you. George and Bosco, I love you, I miss you. Mr. OG Raider, I love you and I miss you. And I just hope while you're gaming in heaven, I just hope you look down and feel some type of joy, the fact that we still think of you. We still love for you. We miss you. We miss you. And I appreciate y'all for just letting me get that off my chest. Y'all been a really great community to let me get things off my chest and show y'all the different sides of me. Thank y'all so much. Love y'all.
Big facts. Shout out Knots. Big facts. Give me 1 second here, y'all.
So am I.
All right. So shout out Knots. I'm going to stop it right there real quick because I got to shout out my boy, Justin Allen Harris. I love you. I miss you, bro. Absolutely. Good shit right here from Knots. Go check out your boy. I'll drop this link in the chat. Let's go.
We still
famous, boy.
Yeah, that's me. Are you okay?
Yeah, man. I'm in that whole chilling. I'm by myself. You feel me? I'm lonely.
I'm lonely too. I do feel that. I feel like specifically black men, they're not like allowed to be lonely and feel stuff like that. And it's sad. It saddens me.
Yeah, it make me want to do something to yourself sometimes. You feel me?
Yeah, but never do that, okay? Because things do get better.
Yeah, I'm just playing.
Shout out
Bad
Goose.
times, they don't last. Things do get better. And then good times, they don't last either. Everything's temporary. But just know if you're ever in a bad spot, it'll go away eventually. And then you'll have good times again and so on and so forth. It's the roller coaster of life.
Yeah,
all right?
I appreciate you for that. You gave me, you a real.
Thank you. I am.
Another lesson, one of my favorite ones, this was from Richard Reeves, great author, wrote the book of Boys and Men, and came back on the show for the second time this year. We ended up going for 3 hours. He's just such an interesting researcher when it comes to sort of the masculinity question, men's roles, boys' roles in the modern world. He said men aren't seen as having problems, but as being the problem. Suicide rates among men under 30 have risen by 40% since 2010 and are 4 times higher than among young women. Male suicide accounts for as many deaths as breast cancer.
One more time.
Male suicide accounts for as many deaths as breast cancer.
Say it again for them in the back.
Men aren't seen as having problems, but as being the problem. Suicide rates among men under 30 have risen by 40% since 2010 and are 4 times higher than among young women. Male suicide accounts for as many deaths as breast cancer. Male suicide accounts for as many deaths as breast cancer. Men are less likely than women to go to college or buy a home. They are more likely to be lonely and are more vulnerable to addiction. Young white men from lower income homes are worse off than their fathers on almost every economic and social indicator. There is a bigger gender gap on campuses today than in 1972 when the government passed Title IX to prevent sex-based discrimination in education. But today the disparities in college enrollment and performance are the other way round. There is no strong evidence that young men are turning against gender equality, but they have turned away from the left because the left has turned away from them. The problems of young men are not the confections of reactionaries. This is the story of elite neglect, not voter chauvinism. The Democrats have failed to address these issues. Under the Biden administration, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has refused to acknowledge the gender disparity in suicide rates. The White House Gender Policy Council has not tackled a single issue facing primarily boys and men. There have been initiatives to promote women in STEM and construction, but nothing about encouraging men into teaching or mental health. There are women's health research initiatives, but no office on men's health. The Democrats and progressive institutions have a massive blind spot when it comes to male issues, and this was exposed in the election. At worst, men are seen as not having problems, but as being the problem.
It's food for thought, everyone.
Remembering that Richard is the most gentle, researched, sort of lefty policy wonk type guy, DC type person that you could have saying this, and that sounds like a fucking hammer blow that will have been dampened down an awful lot and the language will have been dialed back. It's not good. And, you know, a lot of the conversations that I've had this year have been around trying to effectively navigate the conversation to do with men and boys. How much do we need to caveat? How much do we need to say, well, it's not to say that women don't have problems, but now that I've gone through this weird laundry list of like a fucking land acknowledgement for sex and gender, I can now talk about the problems that I'm here to face.
Right.
That doesn't happen in the reverse. If someone's talking about the problems faced by girls and women, that doesn't occur. Well, we must remember that men kill themselves at 5 times the rate that women do, and if men had killed themselves at the rate that women had, we would have 500,000 more men from 1999 to 2020. That doesn't happen. But I guess another insight was I'd had a bunch of conversations about the challenges that men and women face in the modern world. And I realized how rarely pro-male and pro-female activists are prepared to genuinely accept that the other sex may encounter difficulties without measuring it against their own suffering. There is an assumption that any attention paid toward men takes it away from women or some other minority group who is more deserving, and vice versa. It's a zero-sum view of empathy. And obviously, this is not how empathy works. Rather, it indicates just how broken the conversation around men and women is, that care for people who are struggling in life is seen as a fucking finite resource. Women can point to how men don't need to fear sexual assault as much, and men can point to how women don't need to fear Me Too allegations. But men hold more CEO positions, but women are graduating college at higher rates, but there's more male homelessness, but there's more women in sex work. It's like both sides are trying to balance some bizarre simultaneous social justice equation.
Absolutely.
But how many false allegations are worth a sexual assault? How many female graduates are worth a male CEO? The entire conversation is basically saying, my privilege is more oppressed than your privilege. It's like victimhood masquerading as arithmetic. And it's entirely based on a flawed premise because the complexity of the truth is inconvenient for both sides. There is no equating the suffering of one group to another. And perceiving the discussion in this way causes everyone to enter the framing correctly as adversaries. Accepting the challenges of one group does not disable attention from being paid to another. And similarly, it shouldn't be the case that a discussion about men's troubles should first be hedged with fucking groveling caveats about how we know that women face a myriad of problems too, lest the position be seen as myopic misogyny.
Correct.
Zero-sum empathy
Correct.
is one of the most boring and narcissistic things that keeps on happening. And it's done over and over again, and it achieves nothing except for pushing both groups apart from each other. And I can't do much for women, but I've got some, I think, pretty reasonable and influential friends that could propel a better conversation around men, and working quite hard to make that happen in whatever way I can.
And Mark, to your comment earlier about mentors, it's very difficult work creating mentor circles. It's emotional work, being a mentor of sorts in my past, because you become very invested. But you're absolutely correct. Mentor circles are needed. Speaking from the perspective of family, I have a unit of my extended family that was completely rocked when the matriarch, the mother, passed away at a very young age. And she has, I do believe, 7 children that she left behind, most of which are boys. So when you look at situations like that, I can absolutely identify where help like that is needed, how to go about that, how to accomplish that, the amount of energy to dedicate, a proper program to keep the individual focused. These are all things to think about, but it is definitely something that maybe those a little bit more, those with a little more time on their hands should really start thinking about. But yeah, there's definitely a rise of apathy. It's the zero-sum empathy and rising apathy. Absolutely. That's exactly what's happening right now. It is a very selfish, privileged era that we live in. Very selfish and privileged time that we live in. And the powers that be are not making this any easier for the rest of us. And they are absolutely catering to lowest common denominator behaviors and allowing us to just eat ourselves. Like just fight it out amongst ourselves. Mountain Chad said earlier, to be conspiratorial about it, I think people in charge ignore this exactly for the reason that men take their own lives. Those in power figure this problem solves itself. What have we as men heard so often? Many of us, not all of us, but you're a man. Figure it out. Right? So there are a lot of things at play here, but just to go back and kind of close off that topic, yeah, you're absolutely right, Mark. And I have a very changed perspective on help. But given the right audience, given the right platform, I'm willing to sway and balance how I provide help. But as a younger individual, as a young man, and as a mature man, even too recently, I play the fool too many times when helping others. And it's taken until a recent lesson to realize that even those closest to you will hurt you. And that's fine. We all learn it at some point or another in our lives. But the scope of which, and maybe one day I can get into, analogies of these stories, but the scope of which, the shit that I've been through trying to help and aid and encourage and uplift others, I tend to look at it as no longer as a reach one, teach one, but help those that reach up. For the younger age men, I think that's more of a place where I would have a better chance at being a positive mentor. But when when men hit a certain point in their lives, there's nothing. They're going to make the choices. They're going to make adult choices. They're no longer making mistakes as children who are uninformed. They're now making adult choices as an ignorant adult. So there's a breaking point there. I think I may have to analyze for myself, but that's my 2 cents on that. Yeah. Yeah, help is energy. Exactly, twin. It's absolutely energy. Um, you become invested. You become invested in that. I lost my brother a month ago, and I'm still struggling. Be good days and bad days. Mark, man, I'm here for you, bro. I'm here for you. Big up, big up. That's what this is all about. This episode tonight is dedicated to my homeboy Justin. You know, just kind of going through my own thoughts about manhood, and we're going to talk about my experience after my friend's passing. There's a juxtaposition to being in this wonderful, wonderful relationship with this woman I'm in, and she's a beautiful woman. Um, you know, dare I say, this is someone who completes me and accents and makes me better, and all those positive things that one would hope to find, right? That we aspire to find in a woman. But then I have this juxtaposition of losing this guy, this friend of mine. And, let's get through this intro with Chris here, and then we'll get into a little bit more about the story of my buddy Polo Bear. So let's get through this with Chris.
But it's an uphill battle in many ways. Richard taught me this really interesting thing about how when people don't listen to your point, if you've been sort of, campaigning for something for a while, you turn up the volume and the intensity ever more.
And that's something we all do. When someone doesn't listen to your point, what do? You ratchet it up. What do? You lean in harder to facts. What do? Some people get immature when they go into a dialogue like that, and then they start tossing out the insults, or they can't handle it, and then they become even more aggressive about the subject, or even want to go fisticuffs. So that's what we do. That's very intelligent of him to call this out this way.
Especially if they say, no, it's not, or they you don't feel like it's being welcomed, not only not being heard, but is actively being pushed back. And I can definitely see that temptation, that dynamic going on, that gravitational pull for you to become ever more a firebrand when talking about this sort of stuff. And there's definitely days when I feel a bit more fiery than others. Those are the days I try and stay off Twitter. To just drop your fucking problems. Stop taking things so seriously. No one is getting out of this game alive, literally. In 3 generations, no one will even remember your name. And if that doesn't give you liberation to just drop your fucking problems and find some joy, I don't know what will. Life is inherently ridiculous and guaranteed to end sooner or later, so you might as well enjoy the ride.
All right, y'all. That's the intro. That's the intro. And your boy's back. Your boy's back. I want to welcome everybody to the show. It's your boy C.I.P. Welcome back, everyone. Sakafet, what's up? What's up? How is everyone doing? I hope good. I hope you are healthy and taking care of yourselves, taking care of your families, your loved ones. We all we got, everybody. We all we got. And life is short. All right? Not trying to be a Debbie Downer tonight, but tonight is dedicated to my fallen friend, Justin, the Polo Bear, as he will be known as for this episode. A little bit about the Ralph Lauren Polo Bear to distract away from the fact that I just ripped a scar off. Synonymous with the Polo Ralph Lauren brand, the bear is the second best known symbol to the horse. The iconic bear has maintained relevance amongst luxury fashion, streetwear, and pop culture for nearly 3 decades. 30 years of the Polo Bear, y'all. Its endearing character and extensive wardrobe are still, to this day, loved by grandparents, and infamous rappers across the world, and fallen best friends, mind you. Man, my boy had one of the biggest collections of caps, let me tell you. That is the Polo Bear, ladies and gentlemen, and that is your boy C.I.P for tonight. Yalt, I see you out there, sis. How are you? Thank you so much for joining me. Mark, we've already been talking, brother. Thank you so much for joining me. And my condolences to you, sir. My condolences, and I am here for you. My email address for CIP is in the more information piece on the main channel. So feel free to drop me an email if you ever need to talk. Sis, Miss Sunkiss, how you doing, sis? Good to see you. So what are y'all in here talking about? Twin, I already shouted you out. Thank you so much for being here. I saw, who else did I see earlier? Almond Eyes. Sis was in here. There she is. Hey, sis, thank you so much. Mountain Chat, of course. Cortez. And I thought that was it. I think that's it. Most Hated. That's right. He snuck in right at the beginning. It's great seeing you, bro. Gang is all here, everybody. This is Miss Queen trolled bronze earlier. We back, y'all. We back. I'm gonna ease my way back into content creation, but we back. We back. So Polo Bear, my homeboy. Man. All right. So as a kid, the parents did the divorce thing. We know what that's about. We know how that works out. That can wreak havoc on anything, from just the family alone to the satellite family to jobs and the neighborhood and schools and your participation in schools and all of these different facets of life. When you uproot a family or you break a family up, you can on occasion cause a disruption that is like a ripple in time. Just like throwing a stone into the water. Just like that. When I went up to, so when my parents got divorced, let's start there. When my parents got divorced, back in the days before texting, pagers, I think, were just starting to hit the streets. Yeah, everybody had beepers. I had a pen pal because I had moved 200 miles away. Didn't have texting and AOL Instant Messenger and MySpace, or what was the other one? MySpace, right? Yeah, MySpace. Didn't have MySpace and didn't have any of that. So I had a pen pal. Me and bro would write letters back and forth to each other. Like, you're in the middle of this big divorce. Your parents, I don't know if any of you guys ever went through divorces or went through a divorce that was volatile in any way, shape, or form. But he says, CIP, you're dating yourself. Bro, I'm an AIM guy. I'm an AOL Instant Messenger guy. I'm an IQC guy. Or ICQ. Yeah, I had all the old shit. Derek Gaines, good to see you, bro. But yeah, me and homeboy, she said, that's gay. Hey, come on now. When you don't have a way to communicate to your old peoples other than telephone and whatnot, and you on your people's phone, you can't talk about shit. You can't talk about what's going on with you and the ladies. You can't. So it was the thing, you know, hitting high school. What, freshman in high school, I think. And yeah, we started this whole thing up where we just kicked back and we would just express all the things that guys don't get to express. You know, that locker room talk. We had that in on paper. And yeah, now these days you don't want to leave the paper trail. Now you don't want to leave the digital trail. But yeah, it was the coming of age thing. It was like the first girlfriend, the angst about, dad ain't listening, mom ain't on the same page, and then it evolved into the friendships. We became older. Guys were driving back and forward. The whole crew almost that we had up in Cleveland all moved down here to go to Ohio State. We all were kicking it. So it's kind of like we rekindled time. But then it was like, you know, how you weave in and out of people's lives sometimes. We weaved in and out of each other's lives. I went my way. He had a couple kids, you know, and then here we are. You know, he beat me to the finish line. But that's Polo Bear. So that's my boy Justin. Again, once again, I miss you. I love you, bro. I miss you. I love you. Save me a place. Not too soon, though. Not too soon. I got a lot to do. So I started out with the experience shocked, right? No one ever expects these things. We know they come. We know what happens. We're only here for a finite time. Started out shocked. Well, after that, I started asking myself for no reason. We know how the human mind works. Sometimes things just pop into our minds and then they consume us. We are our own worst enemies. I say it once again for the kids in the back. We are our own worst enemies. I drove myself into a kind of depression some of you may or may not be familiar with. FOMO. FOMO. Fear of missing out. Now, it wasn't in the respect of, oh, I'm missing out on these fun occasions and these things that my old middle school, high school crew were partaking in now as adults, right? It's not that kind of FOMO. But where I am in my life, and absolutely, again, we are our worst enemies, absolutely doubting the choices that I've made, the decisions I've made, getting sad. This is where the depression comes in. Getting sad about the fact that I felt I didn't move fast enough. I didn't do something that someone else had done. Not jealousy, but a fear that I myself had made a mistake and that I was going to miss out on something in life because I was now staring at the face of my beloved friend in a casket. So now the choices that he made, the beautiful babies that he's had, the children now, right, in his life, that were in his life that now live on. I have this perspective of, well, where am I in my life? Now, some of you have probably gone through this. Some of you may not have gone through this. A lot of us have different mental resolve and look at things differently. We're all, right? Again, like I said in the beginning, everyone's different. Everyone's life journey is different. We're not a monolith. So for me, I slid into the, bro, you ain't moved fast enough. You ain't got a wife. You ain't done this, that, and the other. You ain't yada, yada, yada. You need to pick up, you know what I'm saying? You got some pieces over here. You need to pick up these little. I was my worst enemy. Absolutely my own worst enemy. It was a very short time. It was maybe 3 or 4 days. But even within that 3 or 4 days, it's just the way that you can work against yourself is scary, and it's overwhelming sometimes. The way that you can actually, your mind can actually play games with you, and you can talk yourself into circles about where you are and what you're actually feeling. I got a react for you, so we're going to check out FOMO. For those of you that don't know, but I'm just going to share it because I know that there may be some out there that'll catch this in the future. Again, these good shows the shows that I've dropped that I want to be the good edutainment shows are here for longevity. I want to make sure that, you know, we had some quality edutainment in here. Messy Michonne, how are you, sis? I saw you sneak in. Where are you? There you are. It's good to see you, sis. Mixed Chick, I saw you come in as well. Chrissy, it's good to see you. Glad y'all are out here tonight. I'm back. Format's a little different tonight, as I've already mentioned, but I am back. So let's see here. Give me 1 second. Spin up the React. Let me see. I'm about to put my nails on the mic. All right. What we truly... let's see here. Opera's being weird. There we go. Trying to make sure the browser don't got echo and all the craziness. All right. First up, what is FOMO? Fear of missing out. What will we truly miss? And the easy way out of this for me was, and I think he talks about, I've watched so many of these videos. Yes, knowing what you're getting yourself into. We'll get to it, and we'll get to how I talked myself out of what I was in. Again, it was a very short stint, but I've been away for a couple weeks, and literally one of these weeks was me mourning and dealing with me driving myself crazy. It's like it is what it is. It's how we operate as humans. Again, we all deal with things differently. So let's talk about FOMO, y'all. This shit's crazy.
Desire can be a significant hindrance to living a purposeful
get a one in the
tranquil
chat
life.
so I know you guys can
as
hear
soon
it.
as we want something, we fall into a state of lack and we feel restless. And the obvious way out is to fulfill that desire so that we can feel content and happy again.
You guys got volume out there? I don't got my monitor going. So make sure y'all can hear it too. Awesome. Yeah, mixed chick. Mind is definitely can be your worst enemy. I learned that again. It's a constant lesson. You have to know when not to listen to yourself. When it's healthy not to listen to yourself.
A much discussed phenomenon in the current age that arouses such restlessness and lack is the so-called fear of missing out, also abridged as FOMO. The fear of missing out occurs in many different scenarios. For example, a stock market investor fears that he'll miss out on profits when he doesn't invest in a specific stock at a particular moment. Another example is a college student who never misses a party because she fears that she'll miss out on the fun. FOMO often drives people mad. Studies show that the fear of missing out can lead to extreme dissatisfaction and can be hazardous for our mental and physical health. FOMO is associated with loneliness, depression, and anxiety. Thus, behind this trendy acronym hides a dark, devastating experience, amplified through social media, which presents a never-ending tsunami of snapshots of our life's highlights.
Now, I'll pause right there. The one good thing is, it was never really the social media stuff that, it was never anything social media that provoked what I was feeling inside. It was it was my comparison to another man's life in the end. It was me. It was almost a keeping up with the Joneses kind of thing. It was a little bit deeper than that because it wasn't just the material facets of life at all. It had nothing to do with the material. It had to do with the activities of life and accomplishments as a man and reflection on who I was as a child and what kind of drawings I would draw when I was a kid with me and a little wife and a kid and a dog and a cat and a house, whatever you draw when you're a kid, me and a girlfriend in a spaceship. I don't remember all that stuff, but whatever it was always some kind of thing. Like, I had like a thing. And it's like, when you look at what your other friends have accomplished, or you look at what somebody else has when you're in a bad mind state, which I was because of the grief, it became this layered episode for the week of me going in loops with myself and arguing with myself about choices I made and where I was.
So where does this fear come from? What do people who suffer from FOMO actually fear? And how can we shut it down?
Yep.
This video essay explores the fear of missing out and presents suggestions and solutions from ancient philosophies like Stoicism and Epicureanism.
Yeah, absolutely, Mountain Chad. It has to be controlled. You have to know what you're going through. You have to
If we look
identify.
closely at the fear of missing out, we might ask ourselves the following question. Are we afraid to miss out on what we think we miss out on? Or are we afraid to experience the pain of having missed out? It seems that the very occurrence of having missed out on something lies at the center of FOMO, and not so much the thing we miss out on itself. Take, for example, the student who knows it's better not to go to that party on the college campus because she is broke and needs to study that weekend. Eventually, she decides to go nonetheless, and the reason is not the party itself, as it's just a dime in a dozen. It's the frightening idea of having missed out on something, anything that others have not. Or that she wasn't part of the story she shares with others, with those who also have that experience.
This is that crazy psychology stuff, Messi. This is that stuff I was like, man, I'm going to take the first course and I'm out. I had to go to counseling to learn this. Damn, that's what's wrong with me.
And not being the odd one out by not having experienced it and being judged because of that. But what if there weren't any parties at all? Perhaps due to a contagious virus. Would she then experience the fear of missing out as well? Probably not. Because when there are no parties, no one attends parties. So there's nothing to miss out on what others wouldn't miss out on. Thus, there's an element of comparison that seems to play a crucial part in the fear of missing out, which is that I fear that I might not have what others do have. But if others don't have it, then it's okay for me to not have it either. We can see this element of comparison with investors in, for example, the stock market or the more speculative and volatile crypto market.
This is like Schrodinger's paranoia. And it's like, am I suffering because of this, or am I not suffering because of this? It's like, is it really happening or is it not happening? And you don't know until you explore what's going on in your mind.
Again, we could ask ourselves what the dominant aspect of their fear of missing out is. Is it just a fear of missing out on profits? Or is it the fear of the painful experience of seeing everyone else making profits while you're not? Comparison is the thief of joy.
Yep.
American President Theodore Roosevelt once stated. The fear of missing out seems especially built on a sense of comparison, not having what others have, not being able to experience what others experience. But living life, keeping up with the rest of the world, is like carrying water to the sea.
Absolutely.
In reality, we miss out all the time. Modern life offers us so many choices, and there are so many things happening on this globe that we humans, with our short lifespans, miss out on almost everything. We can't have it all. But in an age in which we don't
Yeah, absolutely, Mark. It's like being in a limbo state. And it's your mind loops in on itself.
just have an abundance of options, but these options are also unprecedentedly visible to us through the media. We're even more cursed with the awareness that we'll only ever have and experience a fraction of what's out there. The more we desire to have everything, the more we feel we have nothing. If we don't cease to want it all, we cannot be content, and there will always be something we fear missing out on.
Right.
Instead, we might want to change our perspective regarding what we need and how important the things we desire truly are.
Count your blessings.
Human beings tend to focus on what they don't have rather than on what they do have. In the case of FOMO, the pain of missing out is more significant than the joy of the many things we've not missed out on. Isn't this human discontent an ingenious setup by nature? The dissatisfaction with what we have and the appetite to get more have been essential ingredients to our success as a species. But these internal drives can also have negative side effects: restlessness, displeasure, unhappiness, envy, and, yes, a fear of missing out.
Right.
The ancient Greek philosopher Epicurus made clear that our desire for more goes at the expense of enjoying what we have. I quote, "Do not spoil what you have by desiring what you have not. Remember that what you now have was once among the things you only hoped for." End quote. A simple way to release ourselves from this desire is to shift our
The old stone guys were cool.
focus. Instead of concentrating on what we don't have, we can look at what we do have. To make it practical, we can start counting our blessings by making a list of things we're grateful for, or something we haven't missed out on that probably outweighs the thing we fear to pass by.
Facts.
Yes, we might miss out on that very thing, but how terrible is that, considering what we already have experienced and accomplished?
You ever think about wasting time and a bunch of your homies are going out to the club or something just ain't really the thing. You ain't feeling it. You don't go. And then there's a shootout that night. That's happened to me a few times. That's all I'm saying. So sometimes it's a blessing. Count your blessings. You have other shit to do. I was probably occupied by a lady instead of going out to the club with some dudes. What am I doing with y'all? I got a lady at home.
If we've been to 10 college campus parties in a row,
Trin, what's up, man? What's up? Salute.
is it vital to attend the 11th as well? If we made some decent profits in the past on stocks, is it a disaster if we miss the boat once or twice? Often, in the ever-fleeting present, some event or opportunity may appear as something huge to us. But when we look back at it, we notice that its gravity decreases over time. How many of the things we deemed so necessary 5 years ago have lost their significance? And how much will it matter 10 years from now if we miss out on what we currently fear to miss out on? We humans are inclined to attach ourselves to things in the present that are insignificant if we look at them from a broader perspective. The Stoic Emperor Marcus Aurelius reminded himself repeatedly of the world's impermanence and how we're often concerned with stuff that eventually turns into smoke and dust anyway.
Yep.
He encourages us to watch
Absolutely.
ourselves from a different angle so we realize how insignificant we are. I quote, "To see them from above, the thousands of animal herds, the rituals, the voyages on calm or stormy seas, the different ways we come into the world, share it with one another, and leave it. Consider the lives led once by others, long ago, the lives to be led by others after you, the lives led even now in foreign lands. How many people don't even know your name? How many will soon have forgotten it?"
Absolutely.
End quote. By looking at the world from a cosmic point of view, we can put the things we fear to miss out on in perspective. Again, attending an upcoming party may seem like the most important, meaningful thing in the world today. But 10 years from now, we have likely forgotten that it even happened. And if that's the case, not approaching this event in a matter of days or
Salute, Death
weeks,
Reaper.
but in a matter of years or even centuries, renders it pretty frivolous. We then could ask ourselves, what will we truly miss?
Have a good night, mixed chick.
Lastly, the things we deem desirable may not be as great as we imagine them. Many of us base our future.
Hold on. He's at the last point here, everyone. Give me 1 second. Okay. I apologize, you guys. I did receive a Cash App while I was greeting everyone earlier, and I did not call it out. I want to say what's up to Mixed Chick. She's on her way out, y'all. So say have a good evening to Mixed Chick, and she gets a party on her way out.
More money, yeah. More money, more dollar bill. More money, yeah. More dollar bill. More money, yeah. More money, more dollar bill.
Big up, sis. One love. Thank you so much.
Projections on idealized past experiences. But when we finally experience what we anticipated, chances are it disappoints us and brings about negative consequences that we had overlooked or forgotten. And when FOMO dominates our decision making, we have clouded our judgment about the thing we fear to miss out on. Just because everyone wants it doesn't mean it's a good idea. People
Or
are
that everyone's
herd
done
animals,
it.
which sometimes leads to us collectively chasing something that we typically consider undesirable. With enough peer pressure, we even begin to fear that we miss out on things like violence and war. We pay the ultimate price for attending an overcrowded party, save up money a whole year just to queue up at the airport, sit in an airplane like sardines in a can, to finally lay down on a cram-full beach. Hence, we travel the world compulsively, as if we're attending an all-you-can-eat buffet, just to flood our social media accounts with pictures showing off our extraordinary lives, but then to be disappointed by the lack of likes we receive. Hence, we tolerate horrible hangovers again and again in exchange for a few hours of pleasure the night before, and are exhausting ourselves by engaging in pointless conversations and faking smiles at dinner parties with people we don't even like.
Been there, done that.
Why? Well, probably for a major part because we want to belong. But the
It
need
is so
to belong
overrated.
comes with a price, and the more this need controls us, the more inauthentically we live our lives. And the more we waste our time on things we don't like.
Absolutely.
Or even worse, we do things that are bad for us. Take for example people with a drinking problem. Problem drinkers know that it's better to pass up the alcohol, but the fear of missing out, among other things, keeps their destructive habit intact. All those fun evenings at the pub, those drunk Saturday nights at the nightclub. Who wants to miss that? But if they would contemplate the long-term consequences of their behavior in detail, then they might conclude that these far outweigh the pleasure drinking brings. So an effective way to shut down FOMO would be to contemplate the negative aspects of the things we fear to miss, creating a realistic image of what we get. We could use the modern Stoic premeditatio malorum, also known as the negative visualization, for this. When we're struggling with FOMO, we list the negative aspects of the thing we fear to miss out on. The difference is, of course, that we don't walk out the door and engage with it anyway, but wisely avoid it. And once we realize we have made a good choice for ourselves.
So it comes down to the rationalization of what it is that you're desiring, right? You have to rationalize with yourself. And a lot of times we have to be enabled with tools to do that. You have to know that you have to take a deep breath and not make snap judgments. You have to know that you can't be reckless in your actions because those actions have repercussions either to yourself in the long term or to others. So you can't let that fear drive those decisions and that decision making. You have to backstep and analyze the good and the bad of the situation. Otherwise, you can dive headfirst into something that you have no control of whatsoever, and you are swept up into a situation that causes you complete grief.
In the long run, we feel better as missing out isn't a tragedy, but a victory.
Absolutely.
The approach by
missing out is not a tragedy, but a victory. Okay? The simple example I gave was I stayed home cupcaking and cuddling with a woman instead of going to the nightclub to get shot at. That was an absolute victory. How many times? 2, 3 times? How many times have I heard guys gone to the bar and gotten in fights? Countless. And I was never there. Victories. Absolute victories, everyone.
By Stoic philosopher Epictetus may be the most appropriate when it comes to keeping ourselves from indulging in mindless pleasures. I quote, "If you are stuck by the appearance of any promised pleasure, guard yourself against being hurried away by it. But let the affair wait your leisure, and procure yourself some delay. Then bring to your mind both points of time, that in which you will enjoy the pleasure, and that in which you will repent and reproach yourself after you have enjoyed it.
Post-nut clarity, gentlemen.
You, in opposition to these, how you will be..."
Give yourself a little post-nut clarity, gentlemen, before you make decisions. It's kind of funny, but I had heard that before making any financial decision, any major, before you go buying that car or buying that house, gentlemen, beat it. Yes, you heard me correct. Go beat that dick. For real, for real. That post-nut clarity is not just for the females. That shit will guide you through life. All right? Handle business, gentlemen. That is your piece of advice for the day from C.I.P. I am not a medical professional, allegedly.
Glad and applaud yourself if you abstain. And even though it should appear to you a seasonable gratification, take heed that its enticing and agreeable and attractive force may not subdue you, but set in opposition to this how much better it is to be conscious of having gained so great a victory.
Enzellander. All right, ladies and gents, I'm going to suggest, if you like the content, use. I hope you like the little blurt there about FOMO, and that is what your boy had to work himself out of a little bit ago. For I think a lot of the people that experience that, it could be a lot worse, and it probably is a lot worse than what I went through. But what I went through was very real and was very gripping at the time. I was reaching out to my homeboys and thinking about my own resources. Just to talk. Like it was beer time. I needed to sit at a bar and I needed to talk to my people. I needed some time with the guys. I needed man time. I needed time to sort things out. And the person who came in clutch was the woman in my life, and that was just it was perfect timing. It was perfect timing. So there was this, again, as I mentioned before, there was this horrible juxtaposition of this grief mixed with this panic of, I ain't done enough in life and I need to be moving faster. And why is my life, and why are things happening this way? And shouldn't this be easier? And questioning everything that I'm doing, knowing that my life is stable, knowing that I'm doing things not only to the best of my ability, but I'm on beast mode right now with my career and my future. So it's this doubt, this small seed of doubt that had just spurned in my mind that I hadn't been making the right decisions and should have been further along, should have made different choices. But if you're in that position, talk to someone. If you don't have a counselor, you don't have someone to talk to, seek it out. Don't break that bind that we always stigmatize individuals who seek help. Do it for yourself. Do it for yourself and seek other sources outside of your regular everyday friends. That's the other thing that keeps us trapped a lot of times in that mindset of get that when it's not fucking for us. It's not for us. It's not for you. Right? So from there, I'm going to take it another direction. I'm going to go back to what Chris Williamson was talking about with the narcissistic zero-sum empathy game that we're all playing against one another when we talk about these issues from the man's perspective, or we talk about these issues, or women talk about and address issues from their perspective that are serious issues here. And it's not just the man hate, women hate bullshit that we see in the gutters, but it's the real talk, right? So, but I think that with that zero-sum empathy that a lot of people are projecting, there's also behind it zero-sum self-care. We don't do enough for ourselves and care about ourselves enough. We don't look ourselves in the mirror and love and know that we love ourselves when we look ourselves in the eye, that we're proud to look at that reflection of that person in the mirror when we wake up in the morning. And that's a hard pill to swallow for some people, but loving yourself is where this all starts. We have a short life, a finite life here on earth. The things we want to accomplish have to be done with a solemn spirit and an open mind. So let's go here to I Never Knew TV. All right. These are new kids on the block for me. My lady. Show me these folks. I think y'all are going to like these brothers. It is some tether talk. So put on your tether translators, ladies and gents, because we do have a Ross and a Baldy.
Let me hear you say mountain.
And as always, fair use. What we're talking about here, and this is the finale here. So I'm going to be reacting and interacting here with y'all. Tether gang, facts, big facts. Mastering self-talk. Speak with compassion and hold yourself accountable. This is episode 206 of their podcast. Let's go.
Fire, what you saying?
Yes, I give thanks to life for your key, man.
It's a serious thing. We are here again, Bald Head and the Dread. Want to give much gratitude and appreciation to everyone been tuning in from those times. So now I appreciate all the comments. Appreciate everybody sharing. Fire, what reason about?
Yeah, to the way I reason about the whole concept of talking to yourself. Like you have to make sure so you talk to yourself with a certain type of love, and you have to keep things realistic within the midst of that. Because back in the days, them used to tell us, say, if you talk to yourself, that you're mad or you're crazy. But really and truly, when you really find out about yourself and really have certain questions, who better to ask than yourself and try to work it out from an internal standpoint.
No, a serious thing, and I'll remember. I know I say I'll remember to put the link in the description. There's a powerful reason from Dr. K out of Maui Knife talking about when the student is ready, the teacher will appear, but the teacher is there still because the teacher inside of you just not ready for the teacher.
Yep, that's a good point right there. When the student is ready, the teacher will be there. That is a hard pill to swallow for your boy. Your boy is too fucking ambitious. I sit around, well, I used to, right? I used to. So lesson learned, but I used to sit around trying to plead with individuals to bring them to the table to teach them something because I already saw that things were going the wrong way. You can't force somebody to learn something and teach them to look at things a different way. So when the student is ready, the teacher will be there. That's why I said it's Mark, I talked about this earlier. It was that old phrase of the reach one, teach one. It's different in reality. It's so different. The student has to reach up. The student has to be prepared. It's like, you missed the boat, right? That for old phrase, you missed the boat. Yeah, you weren't on the dock with the right shoes on, with the right coat on, with your backpack, waiting for that boat to arrive. You missed the boat. So people who, horse to water, there we go, can only lead a horse to water but can't make him drink. Mountain Chad, thank you, sir. Though you can put salt in the hang, right? All right, let's go, fellas.
So is very important to have those conversations with yourself. My wife could tell you. People probably see me laugh when I'm talking. I don't know what they say because I'm in deep reasonings and they come out verbally, when I'm walking. So God knows what people say about me, but bless them same way. But you definitely have to talk to yourself, Fire. But what I want to start out with is like how you talk to yourself. That's the key component because that's the game changer for me because for those that know where I did go to therapy, I go sometimes here or there for a little brush up, but I go as much as before. But one of the things this lady really pointed out to me, Fire, is like how I spoke to myself. She said how cruel I spoke to myself, Fire, and how rough I was with myself. And many brothers can attest to that because I'll give you an example. Say something messes up, right? You call yourself stupid or here it goes again or those type of negative affirmations. But what I learned is that in the environment that I grew up in, I'm pretty sure you could attest to this, Fire, is that people just deal with each other so harsh, Fire, and talk to each other harshly. Mm-hmm. If that's your blueprint for how you should converse with others, how you gonna converse with yourself? And how others react to certain situations. That default reaction. That's the part where you really.
Yeah, and the default reaction he's talking about, and like the blueprint, as he mentioned, it's like our environments, right? The nature, nurture, and it's like you come from the hood, you have a different kind of vibe. If you come from, then when you come from another neighborhood, there's still like guys that bust your balls, and you have the bro talk and this, that, and the other. But if you always come from an aggressive family and an aggressive household, and everyone's always aggressive and this, that, and the other, when you get into your own head, you're mad. Like you're mad. You're mad in your own head. It's just the way that the environments teach us. We're impressionable little beings. That's why it's very important that parents pay attention to these things. That's another topic for another day, but that's part of it. That nature, nurture, how we raise young ones in these environments becomes how they treat themselves. Zero-sum empathy for yourself. Think about that.
Really got to catch yourself and recalibrate your mind on your default reaction to situations, your default reaction to your behaviors. I'm not talking about being delusional, lying to yourself now, right? Yes, accountability. But if something goes wrong, you have compassion for yourself and you're gentle with yourself. And that comes from what we spoke about in the previous conversation in regards to that self-love. I think the heights of self-love is having compassion with yourself, having patience with yourself at the same time. And it's a balance while holding yourself accountable.
Yeah, I know it's a thin line. There's a thin line when it comes to all of these characteristics within yourself that you mentioned, because when it comes to patience and even compassion, you can't even overdo it, because the moment you start give yourself too much compassion now, it become like a pity party in a sense now.
Yes.
And it kind of take you away from your goals. So you have to learn how to balance that internally. And you mentioned the environment we grew up in, and it really is really a key thing, because I want to tell you, the mere fact that most people within our environment think that if you talk to yourself, you're crazy, it shows that there's no room for meditation within the culture.
Right.
It's almost like a anti-meditative culture, culture where it's just focused on external communication and influences from outside, but there's no focus on the internal aspect. And then a next big point that it really bring across is that word sound is power, because the more you denigrate your own self, it's almost like every single thing within your world start to crumble, and there is no positive that really spawn off of that within your life. So automatically now, from you start put down yourself, you start speak certain type of toxicity towards yourself, then guess what now? Automatically, that means everybody else where you start to have a conversation with, or you talk to from an external aspect, them have the same type of attitude amongst each other, and it just create a whole toxic space now, where I feel like the people them get so caught up in, and it's so hard for them move out.
No, reality far right. And talk about word sound. You just gave a powerful word sound, because I was reading a study, right? I forget the brother's name, but it was recent. It's been done before, but it's like science kind of verified it in regards to your energy field that you have around you, the type of energy that you go,
Absolutely.
the type of energy that you emit. And what I learned in my own life, and tell me if you could attest to this, is that people view me the way I view myself. And I don't think we want to acknowledge that.
100%.
Yeah, I don't think we want to acknowledge that aspect, because it's like, oh, people, you know what I'm saying? Like, fight. They're not fighting you down. You kind of sent out that email, fire. Energetically, you kind of sent out that mail that posted to everybody, like, this is how I should be treated, and this is how you should view me. You don't have to say nothing. It's just how you're moving. It's energy.
Right.
And when you change how you see yourself, it's funny enough how other people's view of you will change without you saying anything. And it makes sense, right? So I want to go back to what you said, because you just gave a powerful word sound, right? And in regards to the word sound is that, one, let's think about gatherings. Let's think about church. Let's think about political gatherings where they play music and they have you saying certain things.
Mm-hmm.
The music influences your mood and your thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that you're saying is almost like a mantra,
mm-hmm.
helping them to help you buy into what you want to think about them and what they're doing. You're pretty far right. You've been at a concert, I ain't talking about modern concerts with cell phone. I'm talking about a real concerts where everyone, the Markaba, the art is so big where everybody in the trance and they're taking it in and you're singing in one accord with everyone that's there, because you're all united on that same vision.
Like a carnival, man. Yep.
So what you have to do is unite all the cells and molecules in your body on a particular idea about yourself consistently. That's the thing, is that consistency, because this mind thing is just like any other thing. All right, let me give you this, far right. And this is from personal experience. I'm not telling you no theory. I'm telling you what I live and what I experience. I have approached my mental health like I approached basketball when I was in high school trying to get a college scholarship. I work at this thing every single day. And it's two people that see it every day, my wife and my daughter. You can ask them, we can bring them here, you can call them fire. They're going to tell you this man meditate and he stretch. Till it's a joke. It's like the joke around the house. Because I approach it with such vigor and such militancy and consistency, because I know this is what I need to help myself and others. And I said that to say is that you have to have that same type of consistency when you're checking your thoughts. When you have that, when you start to default to certain, because everything is good when things are going good. Things kind of mellow when things are going good, right? So you're not really seeing the change. You're not really being challenged and changing your behavior. It's when things not going good for you. That's when you really got to pay attention to what you're doing.
And a lot of times for us, and this is a human, right? This is a human feature or a human fact. For a lot of times for us, those obstacles, the roller coaster on that downswing, on that downward path, come out of the blue, and we don't expect them. I mean, well, what surprise and what bad time do we expect, right? So we don't expect those moments. And they're so unexpected that they shock us. A lot of us, our snap reaction is to fall back on those old behaviors or to fall back on that bad behavior.
Something happens, for example, right? Say you try something that doesn't work out. Your default may be to criticize yourself. Why did I do this again? Name call yourself. Once you do that, you have to check yourself and say,
"You so stupid, culture. Why you do that, you idiot?"
Not today, fire. Analyze the situation. Hey, I did try my best. Maybe I could do this. Maybe I made a couple mistakes, but I'm not a bad person. I'm not a stupid person.
Right.
I'm not a failure.
Right.
That's how you got to check yourself. You're acknowledging that, hey, it didn't work out. I could have done better. In retrospect now, I messed up on that. The wording is different.
And it's freeing to address yourself that way, to acknowledge it that way, to understand where you went wrong and to correct it. And it can be anything in life, from a task at work, that toil that we do, the repetitive nature stuff, and you make a mistake, acknowledge it, clean it up, get back on task and back to the toil, right? It can be anything from that to something larger scale with a relationship and interrelationship issues. But you have to provide yourself with that grace. You have to acknowledge and you have to hold yourself accountable.
Be messing up on that, or I need to learn better or get better, as compared to I'm a failure. I'm an absolute failure. How am I an absolute failure? Because it didn't work out.
That's the key. It's funny because that is really the whole backbone of the whole conversation. We think about talking to yourself, because accountability have to be in the mix. You have to tell yourself, so, yo, really and truly, I effed up. If I effed up, I effed up. If I messed up, I messed up. But it's not a matter of basking in that particular failure within that moment. You have to understand that you can't curse yourself. There's nothing wrong with cursing yourself, but you curse yourself for the intention to actually build upon all of those flaws that you've noticed. Where you notice all of those flaws, notice all of those movements and the lackadaisical type of habits and attributes, then you try to curb those attributes. But majority of people now get kind of over-consume, because they already think that they're nothing. Now the fact that this thing didn't carry out, and then more than likely some of the processes never really pay attention to the processes.
All right.
They go right back to the ground in terms of how them view themselves and analyze the whole thought process. And then in the mix of that, there's another very important piece to where.
Hold on, I don't want to run to the next thing before we got iron out this thing here.
He's cooking.
You brought up a great point in regards to systems and processes, and we can't move forward without touching on this.
Facts.
All right. You remember you just said in regards to basking, like they identify with that thing instead of just like, hey, I tried my best, fire, or I didn't try my best. Next time I try my best, I'm going to tweak it, right? They identify as a failure. That's where the things gets tricky, right? Now, once you catch yourself doing that, what Farah said, you have to create a system to minimize that outcome again. That's where the accountability comes from, because this is not a mind trick on your game and positive thinking and positive talking and the world's going to change. You need action behind it. Farah, what did I say? I'm proactive in regards to checking my thoughts. I'm proactive of using different tools that I know puts me in a good mental state to develop and be on the heights.
Because at the end of the day, improvement of the whole thing is like most people, it's not a matter of like the stay in the same place. Why so?
Exactly. At the end of the day, I'm going to rewind that back. At the end of the day, self-improvement, evolution. Y'all know I preach evolution over here. Improving the situation that you're currently in. We have so many tools available to us today. From a cell phone that can launch a space shuttle to services that okay, well, with the current administration, some of the privilege might disappear, but we still live in the first world country.
Cause at the end of the day, improvement of the whole thing is like most people. It's not a matter of like the stay in the same place. Why somebody analyze what's happening in the past? Like John Henry Clark. That's how much you see John Henry Clark as a very important element. Because I'm telling you, history is like a clock. I use it to tell the time. So you have to overstand, say, within the midst, anything that happened in the past. Because a minute ago is the past, 10 hours ago is the past, 2 days ago, anything. So anything that happened already, you can't undo what has happened already. Is have to know, so you use all of these particular elements and things within this and analysis. You make this analysis within yourself to try to benefit you and go forward with that fire, because the first rule of nature is to preserve oneself. How are you going to preserve yourself if there's no form of solid foundation or positivity within the midst of your mind? You can't really progress without no positivity within your mind from an internal perspective. All of these people, the thing with human beings now, and because of this commerce, human beings get caught up in this concept of, okay, you see, if I'm of this appearance externally, it's going to validate what's within my mind. Facts. People are going to respect me. Facts. People are going to love me for this because they see me as this person who they. So if I put on a Gucci or a Louis Vuitton,
there it is, Louis Gucci Fendi,
or whatever, or all of these different things, it will hide all of the internal pains and the scars where really I go on and the fact say my mind are really stable. I can't talk to myself, because if I talk to myself, I'm only going to put down myself. Then it will be fine. People respect me automatically. No.
Yep.
Fire. I hope you remember the next topic you want to touch on. Cause I just want to say one thing. When you mentioned John Henry Clark, right? Fire on fire today, right? Check it. You see what I'm preying? You know how people always talk about being in the present and this past and future thing? Because the present is so unpredictable, that's why a man don't really want to stay there, yo. Because the past is predictable in regards to you already know what happened and you can replay that. In the future, well, by default, unfortunately, many people tend to have a negative real on the future, but it's still controlled. You're controlling that thought.
Yep.
The present vibe gets tricky now because you don't know what's going to happen.
Yep.
And unfortunately, I'm not saying I'm a master of it, but I'll tell you this: I'm in the present much more now than I was in the past. Right? The thing with the present is that when you are present, that's where everything happened, and you got to be comfortable being in that unknown space and just be.
Absolutely.
I think there's too much. It's like people control freaks, but they don't know that they control freaks.
Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely. People are control freaks. Here's one example, and I'm only going to use this because there's a lot of this going on right now. But for me, I was a control freak because I thought I had got the best job. I thought I got the best job of my dreams. Never in my life would I have thought that there would have been somebody at that job that would give me complete grief nonstop. So I had this privileged view in my head that my shit didn't stink. I had the best motherfucking job. Wasn't shit going to happen wrong. I was on cloud nine. No. It was a completely false image that I had set up for myself. A completely false image I had set up for myself. It was not the reality of the situation. And we do that. People do that too much. They think that this is the end all be all of where life is. The future is anxiety, the past is depression, the present is peace. Exactly. The future is pure anxiety. Because once I looked at that job and thought it was the best job in the world, my future completely dissolved. Everything I thought was my future, I had the best job. I was on cloud nine. I'm just pimp out here. Nope. Not at all. My future had now become pure anxiety because I didn't know if I was going to have a job tomorrow because my job was under threat by bad vibes and energy within the office. Not to mention me too. Yep. He said opposite jobs were not making me happy at all. Yeah. I was searching for happiness. I searched for happiness outside of that. Yeah. There was that And I came from that class of individual where it's like, oh, you retire from a job, you get a good job, and yada yada yada. And I'm like, this is a good job. I got a good job. I can retire from this job. Nah, man. No. Let's see. Futures anxiety. Yeah, definitely. Great way to describe it. All right, let's get back into it.
You gotta learn just to be fire and just easy, just breathe and be and work with things.
Yes.
And be more flexible with things.
And back to my personal story, that's what ended up happening. I ended up looking outside of what I thought was the comfort zone and being more flexible with the idea that maybe I needed to explore other options. And it's a small time in a small part of my life, but that was definitely one of those situations where you had to take that reality check. Like, damn. Yep. You energize the thoughts with fear and insecurities. Yep, exactly.
We need more flexibility in our life. Like we have a certain idea of the way things gonna play out, and when they don't play out that way, it's so much frustration and this and that. But it's like that's how you thought it was gonna play out. I don't know who told you that, Fire. I don't know where you got this idea from. You're just here as a human being trying your best.
Yes. And Mountain Chad, yeah, the good job mentality is a holdover from the 50s, 70s that died in the 80s and 90s. Exactly. We were raised by people who drank the Kool-Aid and at least partially benefited from it. Let's go, boomers. Those guys. Where's my boo? Silly boomers. I'm guilty as foot too. Yeah, brother. Yep.
But you have to be flexible and don't take things so personally. And you got to ease off this past thing because it's just like, as the brethren just said, it's over with. You know how much people talking about what happened in 92, 84, God. 2000,
yes.
20. You know what I'm saying? It's not like, yeah, you could use it for a reference point, but you shouldn't be dwelling on it to throw off your meditation.
Right.
And this is coming from a past liver. I was an expert past liver fire, expert master living in the past. So I'm telling you from experience, fire, throw off my whole meditation, just gone, thinking about some other foods that the other, and I'm missing out on everything else. And I can't get no messages because I'm in the past. I will tell you this, especially if you're a creative person, your behind better be in the present, fire, if you plan on being creative. I'll tell you that much.
Absolutely.
Because the source you try and connect with, it don't communicate too well when you're in the past.
Yep.
And it's hard to get 2020. You know what I'm saying? It's not like, yeah, you could use it for a reference point, but you shouldn't be dwelling on it to throw off your meditation. And this is coming from a past liver. I was an expert past liver fire, expert master living in the past.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm telling you from experience, fire, throw off my whole meditation, just gone, thinking about some other foods that the other, and I'm missing out on everything else. And I can't get no messages because I'm in the past. I will tell you this, especially if you're a creative person, your behind better be in the present, fire, if you plan on being creative. I'll tell you that much.
We rewind. My bad, y'all. Okay.
Because the source you try and connect with, it don't communicate too well when you're in the past. And it's hard to get certain things out of you when you're in the past. But Fire, touch on that next topic you wanted to touch on.
No, and it's still kind of connected, because it's really the lack of connection with yourself is the ultimate reason for fear, right? A lot of people don't even understand how much different fears that they've kind of grown. Them never really born with these fears, but these fears kind of grew on them due to the same environment we mentioned. And then that lack of connection with self now. So you can't talk to yourself because you're scared to even talk to yourself because you don't want to fall deeper into the depression. Because depression is serious, A majority of people, I think, suffer with some form of element of depression that them don't even understand. And then it causes so much fear within them. And I think that fear is the ultimate reason why a lot of people holding back themselves because they're scared that you mentioned the past. Past, you already know what took place. You can't see what going on. But that unpredictability is so fearful to the majority of people that they would never ever try to go forward in that element and even fix whatever is in their mind. And even ask themselves. Some people, if they even ask themselves a question, and I want to say for days upon days upon days, then nobody asks themselves nothing again because it seemed too scary. Because if the answer ever come, they might say, wait, where the voice to come from? What the voice you tell me for do? No, the voice and a sound like something. And then the next part of it is that most people don't, if them even hear the voice, them don't want to agree with it because the voice within them head, I gotta tell them something different from what them actions are actually be.
Right.
And that is the next scary part of the whole thing. Why is my own voice, that voice, that intuition within me telling me something that I don't agree with? Because everybody thinks that thought process will come across and make them have to agree with every single thought process that come through them. They're not understanding that all of these different thought processes are
all these different thought processes are natural, and that you're a rational human being, and that you're going to think about examples of other human beings do the same thing that you're doing, that you have to provide yourself the grace to understand that you're actually going through the thoughts, that this is normal.
options. These thought processes are based on analysis. So when you people like that, then will self-reflect, we overstand. So there's so much different vibes come and you have to block out some. But it take a really, it to a certain extent, you can't understand which vices to block out if you have that whole fear, because that fear is supposed to stay outside, And then when it within the midst of yourself, you're supposed to have yourself like a temple, and your mind now supposed to be a you, and if you want to call it God, if you want to call it the earth, anything spirituality, anything you want to talk about from the personal level, now where you block out the world and just a connect. And because I'm afraid to make that connection, then ultimately every single thing else get blocked, because unpredictability is a thing I'm realize that human beings fear so much. Them fear more than even the Grim Reaper.
And I think that's why meditation, which is a beautiful thing, is so hard for people, because one, you're in that unpredictable space.
You're in your own
being
thoughts.
by yourself.
You're by
and
yourself
being alone
in your
with yourself,
thoughts.
and the barrage of thoughts come in, but you got to work with the thoughts and analyze them. You're really supposed to breeze by. You're not supposed to interact with them when you meditate, because the mind is doing what it's doing, racing if I ain't thinking. But the more you do it, the more you cool it off. I want to say this far, like, for those listening, we deal with reggae. We deal with all genres of music, but fight with reggae people. The gang have a tune, Natural Mystic, all right? And the man said, when you listen carefully, there's a natural mystic blowing through the air. If you listen carefully, you will hear, right? I think that Gan doesn't get enough credit for the mystical and spiritual aspects of the lyric because it's so simple. And sometimes people, because it's so simple, they ignore the profoundness in it. The man said it himself. It's a natural mystic blowing in the air, fire. This is lava tune, what is it worth? Where you say can't bring no strain. What you say? Can't bring no stress and no strain in the Zion fire. It don't work like when this is stressed out. Nothing works.
When the mind
and
is
you
stressed.
start behaving in a rational way where you have to question the way you behaving and conducting.
And the other thing too, gents and ladies, rest. Get rest. Shut your mind off as best you can and sleep. We need our rest. I know it's hard for a lot of us because we're working 2 gigs, we're bouncing in between things, but when you can, rest, get yourself some sleep.
Yourself.
Refresh yourself. Again, that goes back to loving yourself.
Because you're off tilt. And things have to be balanced. Fire, you know when things get unbalanced in the atmosphere, it's a problem, right?
It's starting to dark.
You get what I'm saying?
Dark.
So it's like
yes,
we have that same. We have that same. I'm not trying to be all nature on you scientific because I'm not a scientist at all. But I do know that it's just like there are a lot of similarities between our mind, spirit, and nature. Nature needs a certain amount of things to blossom properly. Like the seed now, right? Me and my wife were driving one time. It was fall. We're looking at the beautiful trees. And it said it's wild because, in the wintertime, you can't tell if you don't know, you can't tell the beauty that these trees have within them because you don't know. This is the bare stems and the branches, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the wild part is that fire, it was all that was in this little thing, yeah? But it needed certain things in that environment, the proper environment for it to grow and blossom. Us as human beings are the same thing. But the thing is, I think the beauty of the human being is that, yes, you have a certain lack of control over your environment, but you have a certain control over another environment that's more important to yourself. And that's the environment inside.
And I want to tell you, for you really and truly still, we are scientists, And I tell you, so, as human beings, still we're really scientists, and we just every juvenile, every youth born as a scientist, because yes, for your first thing you want to do as an experiment, you see this, you see something on the ground, you want to take it up to see if it go. You see a leaf on the ground, you want to take it up to see if it go get crushed out. As youth, why you think children ask so many questions?
Right.
It's basically a science experiment. Them do every single thing become a science experiment because it's new to them. That's just the nature of human beings. So but the further we grow now, because of these learned habits and the way that most of we get trained for push towards the system and for
that goes back to what I mentioned before, right? Nature versus nurture. Hey, 87, good to see you, ma'am.
go towards the agenda of the system now, we start neglect all of these scientific principles were innate within our own structure. And then we go towards the system now, we beat out that scientific element outside that we know, and we become pawns and puppets of the system now. And that becoming pawns and puppets of the system, them train with to think like, oh, them want we to think. And then we don't get to think like, oh, we would a normal thing. Because youth always talk to themselves, and if you really see a child, you know, every single child always talk to themselves, and you have to say, what am I talk about? Sometimes we stop and see all my youth, man, and look for my youth and say, what should we talk to ourselves about? So it's just a natural thing amongst youth now, but it became, because there's so much different things pouring out in the environment, we lose the scientific touch now.
Yep, absolutely. He is spitting fire. He is spitting fire tonight. Absolutely, FDNHT. Trin, he is this. Ladies and gentlemen, I might have to come back to these gentlemen and do some more reacts. I'm really, really digging this podcast, and I have to say shout out to my lady for sending these over to me.
No, serious thing, far right. And for those listening, I highly recommend that you do be more kind to yourself and compassionate. As I said, it's not a pity party. It's two different things.
Yes.
We're not saying a pity party where everything is loosey-goosey. It's okay. No. We're not saying that, right?
No loosey-goosey beta stuff.
Be more compassionate with yourself. Be more patient with yourself. Be more understanding of yourself. At the same time, holding yourself accountable. When you reflect on something that did not go wrong, you know that's a whole different conversation, Fire. Quantifying what went wrong and what didn't go wrong. Because sometimes you think this thing is the blessing, it's the worst thing that happened to you. Then but majority of the time, the thing is the worst thing ever happened to you is the greatest thing ever happened to you. Different conversation. But you have to have that level of accountability and action towards it.
Yes.
And I think too many times we're missing action. I think it's the Christian upbringing that gives us a hands-off approach to our life. You know, I just pray about it and God will work it out.
Right.
Not saying that you shouldn't have faith, not saying that you won't have divine intervention, but your actions needs it's a tag team. You and the universe, you and your God. It's just not your God. It's just not you. Y'all need to link up and make things happen.
But the divine intervention have to come through you because it's so spiritual. Remember, every religion tell you, even Christianity tell you, it's a God believe in though. It's a God. Yeah,
those who believe in themselves or something.
Believe in themselves. Same way, so you have to really believe in yourself before God can intervene, because God always start from right here. So, you are right. Even the concept of you believing in our God, and your mind have to tell us you believe in another God. You know, so if your mind lead you astray, then guess what will go on? Your mind will lead you to something different, because as a Christian now, it's like a Christian example to a lot of people can relate. If your mind don't lead you to God, then who else your mind lead you to? Your mind lead you to Satan. You're a Christian. So you see your mind again. So you really have to internalize everything, and when you internalize it, you're going to know the fullness.
Right.
Serious thing. And, for those listening too, I do recommend, if you haven't, start with some meditation, even if it's a 3 minutes, 5 minutes. You don't have to be no big production fire. You don't got to be floating in the sky. You don't got to do no crazy poses. You can sit there quietly, hold your breath for about 5 seconds. You know, take a 5-second breath in, hold your breath 5 seconds, release. Do that. You can do mobile meditation, which y'all call, which is cooking, walking, doing things that you're like very focused and present. You know, and get in touch with yourself. But
something else too, you guys. I don't know if many of you have heard this before, but there's grounding. There's just, go walk in the grass, literally. Not just the proverbial touch grass and explore outside and meet and greet with people, but like when you're hiking, that's a way of grounding yourself in nature. Turn off the headphones, turn off the music, and just walk. Just listen to the sounds of nature or the screaming city behind you. But yeah, and like you said, Twin, you listen to music, turn off the music, do something different, mix it up a little bit. Um, screaming sounds of the sirens and crime behind you. But yeah, it's a matter of using all the things around us. Nature's a big one. Nature's a big one. Trin, full drinking. Man, Trin, I appreciate you, bro. Let's go.
More money, more money, more money, yeah. More money, more dollar bill. More money, more money, yeah, yeah. More dollar bill. More money, more money, more money, yeah. More money, more dollar bill.
I appreciate you, bro. Thank you so much for the Cash App. Yeah, I think I am going to do more of these guys. That's for sure.
We do encourage everyone listening, brothers and sisters. Watch how you talk to yourself. Don't beat yourself up. You need to boost yourself up, but boosting yourself up needs to be followed with action and patience. Kind of get off your timeline and just do what you're doing, Fire, and just have a patience and just try to get as good as you can. And this is not in regards to when we talk about this Fire. I think people always default to occupation, and I'm talking about any aspect. If you want to be more patient, if you want to be more understanding, if you want to be a better listener, if you want to get healthy, anything that you're doing, just be consistent and be patient with the process.
I love it. I absolutely love it. That's the Bald and the Dread, ladies and gents. Link is in the chat. And I definitely suggest going and checking them out and checking out more of their content. There's some good stuff over there. That's on I Never Knew TV. That's Bald and the Dread. So you'll find them over there. We don't do enough for ourselves in the end. And I just kind of wanted to wrap this all up with their presentation of the self-love piece. Because having self-care in mind and loving myself and realizing my importance, not just to myself, but to my significant other and what the future holds for me, allowed me to take a deep breath and weigh my FOMO and weigh those feelings I was going through, weigh through and weigh the options of the good and bad that I was feeling. And I tell you what, I'm lucky because I have some tools available to me mentally that allow me to work through my thoughts and talk to myself and not be so harsh with myself anymore when I make mistakes or I don't jump on the boat at the right time, right? I give myself that grace now. So I was able to hold myself accountable more or less for where I was shifting my thoughts and feelings, and I was able to pull myself back out of that. Like I said in the beginning and a couple times throughout tonight's show, we're not a monolith. Each one of us experiences things different. Our journeys are different. This was a whirlwind for me. It was something out of the blue that, while being prepared for and having all of the greatest things I could possibly ask for in my life at that very moment, it offset me emotionally and offset how I viewed life. But I hope tonight provided everyone with a little bit of info and a little bit of edutainment on what we go through and what some of us go through. I wanted to share this as I broke the ice and got back going into my lives again because it was weighing heavy on me. I didn't want to just get back into streaming because this is my hobby. This is what I do on the side. And I like to have a certain presence about each show that I do for you guys, right? And I couldn't be true to myself without getting this off of my chest, pulling the Band-Aid off the scar and sharing this part of my journey with you. So, Chrissy said, I needed this positive message. I hope that it was more of a positive message. I know it was a little bit of a downer because of the reality of death and the deceased and what our journey is like here on earth and the realities of it. But if I did provide you some power tonight and some positivity tonight, I'm definitely happy for that. And thank you, Chrissy. Yeah. Yeah, and 87, whatever you're going through, I definitely hope it gets easier for you. I'm always here, folks. Y'all got my email address. Y'all know it's on the main page. For certain, reach out. I'm always willing to chit chat and lend an ear, right? But for tonight, everybody, I want to thank you for joining me. I'm back. I got some awesome footage. I went on a little vacation, and on the vacation, I got some awesome footage I'm going to be using as like probably like overlays and stuff like that. Chrissy coming in clutch at the end. Chrissy, you're awesome. Let's get this right. Let me.
More money, yeah. More money, more dollar bill. More money, yeah. More dollar bill. More money, yeah. More money, more dollar bill.
Awesome. Thank you, Chrissy. I really do appreciate it. Definitely. And all proceeds definitely go to all cash apps, tips, all go to the podcast in one way or another. Some literature I want to pick up, I want to share with you guys. Some equipment I want to pick up and share with you guys. Captain Poncho got another upgrade, so he's going to be playing games again one day soon. I'll get back to that. But for tonight, thank you everyone who did come out. If you are new, please like and subscribe. Some shows are green light shows. Green light shows are for the general audience and are the lighter side of life, lighter topics, things to discuss. Red light shows are the more controversial. Your boy will be turned up on those shows and anything can happen. Those are the shows where the rubber hits the road and your boy talks the real shit about life. So pay attention to the shows as you approach. If it's a red light or green light, tonight's the yellow night to match Polo Bear. But that's just a one-off. Again, I want to thank everybody so much for the cash apps. Mixed Chick, Trend, Chrissy, y'all are the real OGs. And everybody who's here, we are going for 1,000 subs. All right. I don't know if it's going this year. I don't know if it's going to happen at the turn of the new year, but we're going for 1,000 subs. We are hot. We are doing great. What we're going to do is everybody who is sub 100 and sub 1,000, everybody who is under the 1,000 mark, y'all are the day ones, and that's just the way it's going to be. That's why I'm going to set. That's the way I'm going to set it. Y'all are the day ones. Y'all are the real OGs. So one love to y'all for real. I think about my people there. They here, I think they are free from a lot of fuckery. While I miss them, I'm happy they are free. Yes, for sure, Trend. For sure. Messy, great to see you again, sis, as well. Everyone, y'all have a wonderful night, and I will see y'all soon. Peace.
Nancy feels that a newspaper, any newspaper, has the obligation to deliberately deal with those things which demand public attention. How do you feel about the controversy?
Basically, the fan behaves the same on Joe's suit. When I first turned the power on, or just prior to that, he's drawing 0.6 amps. It goes off scale high for a few seconds, falls back down to about...
The CBS Evening News with Walter Sanders.
Well, first I jumped to 9.
It was a provoking challenge, and nowhere did the challenge provoke more
Averaging a peak to peak, I'd say, of about 0.1 amps.
To develop and introduce America's first all-electronic television system.
Motorboats are